Albanian blood. Not a gang, need my hand like I'm John Alite. On my brain, Benjamin's like I'm John Alite. John Alite.
So this is week 3 of the Johnny and Gene show. I want to thank everybody that watches us, and we're going to try to answer questions as we can. But once we get in the studio, like I said, we'll be able to take call-ins, and I'll answer a little more questions.
Right.
The beginning tonight is we just want to say everybody stay safe with the COVID. United States will be opening up slowly, so I guess everybody will be back out in the street. And hopefully everybody's families are safe, and the economy goes back where it needs to go for the United States to prosper. Everybody knows I'm a big President Trump fan, as Gene is, and I think you stand in the same position, Anthony.
Me?
So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He's my man.
Okay. So I go through a couple of things. The WHO is an organization that we need to get rid of. We give $400 million a year to them, and China gives about $35 million. And believe it or not, the guy that's head of the WHO, he is actually not a doctor. I don't think people really realize that. He's got no credentials as a doctor. So what are we listening to in the first place? Second, he was brought in by China when he was involved with Ethiopia. And what people don't know is he was called as being involved with a terrorist group prior to this. Not only was he involved in a terrorist group, he was also involved in giving illegal shots that killed hundreds of thousands of Ethiopians when he was there. So I think that some of that stuff that people that don't know and keep saying, let's look at the WHO. WHO covered this virus up for China. And I think at this point, the United States needs to bond together. And for any products that are Chinese, we don't buy. I mean, there's enough death, suffering, and financial loss through the world.
Agreed.
I think that everybody should obviously ban Chinese products. Let's not buy it. Let's be American. And people that say about the Chinese people, we're not talking about the Chinese people. We're talking about the regime of communism in China and the WHO. And let's not support their growth, because during this economy, everybody's suffering around the world. China is actually buying up things through Greece, through different countries, through our country, through the stock market. They're the only one that's financially prospering off this. Not only did they, in my opinion, do this purposely, because when this disease came out of Wuhan, they closed down their borders from city to city, but yet they let over 1.5 million people go internationally, knowing they were going to spread this. So for the public that doesn't know that, that's something. But I want to get back on a Democratic thing. Alexandra, she's a Democrat that talks about let's close down and let's not go back to work. I believe they call her AOC. I think that's her initials. Yeah. And she's a very left-wing Democrat, yet she's taking her salary every week, and she's not donating it back to the people. She's telling them don't go back to work. So, double standard. They're so unattached, and they have no clue what the public's going through. But meanwhile, they're trying to get big government against the citizens of the United States. One of the things they're trying to do now is get drones to follow us. The other thing is put a chip in us. They want big government. So, anybody that doesn't like what's going on, they need to really speak up and go out and vote Trump, because this is not what he wants. He wants entrepreneurship. And so does the Republicans. The Democrats, like Pelosi, that brings in $20 million net worth, or Governor Cuomo that talks about let's give to the first responders 50% bonuses. And we're all for that. But the problem is when you got 500,000 homeless people, and then you got 10 million illegal immigrants that they're trying to support. But at the same time, they're asking for bailout money and take our money to give it to illegal immigrants and not for our homeless. I mean, people got to wake up and say, do you understand what they're trying to tell us? They're asking us to give the first responders bonuses. We want to. We want to give the minority groups that are out there working. We want to give the police. We want to give the firemen, EMS. And we're all for giving them money. But we don't have the money to give them because Cuomo and leaders like him want to give our money away to illegal immigrants. So I think everybody in the United States really needs to recognize what they're trying to do. Yet they're saying they have no money to run their cities and that they're going to and they're mad that McConnell said that they should, claim bankruptcy. Well, at the same time, if you have no money, why are you giving away money? I mean, if somebody broke in your house, would you feed them? I mean, so these people are breaking into the United States illegally, and Cuomo and Pelosi wants to support them. Right. I mean, so there's a big issue with that. I mean, I don't know what people are looking at, and they're trying to control us. These guys and this woman and their Democratic Party actually just recently turned around the woman that just got, what's her name? Let me see her name just so I get this right. Karen Whitsett. Karen Whitsett was thanking President Trump personally for saving her life when she tried hydroxychloroquine.
From Michigan, right?
She went to meet him and thanked him. The Democratic Party went against her, and they blackballed her. They actually, because her life was saved, and she's thanking the president. This has to do with personal safety. It has nothing to do with political parties or what side of the fence she's on, because obviously she's a Democrat, but she's a middle-of-the-road Democrat. She's a black woman. She's a minority. And yet they want to talk about they're trying to help minorities, and a woman that was going to die if President Trump didn't allow this drug to be tested and tried, saved her life, and they're ridiculing her for that. I mean,
they're shunning her.
The United States needs to wake up and recognize what this is about. This is politics. This is not about lives in the United States or saving lives. And, their concern isn't anything to do with that. So I think that everybody at this time, asked Pelosi to buy us all ice cream that she has filled up in her refrigerator. She's so disconnected with what's going on with the world. And let's go back, like I say, every week, vote Donald Trump for president in 200 days or thereabout. And let's move on with the show. This is Gene, my co-host. And
hey,
we have a really special guest, a very good friend of mine from the late 90s, Anthony Arillotta, who was a skipper with the Genovese family. Hey, Anthony, how are you?
How you doing, John? Hi, Gene.
Hey, what's going on, Ant? Now, me and Anthony were in jail together, so this is good. We know each other, so this is This is gonna be a good episode, man. The people really want to see this because you got a lot of good information about how the other states operate with mafia and how New York is just not just the five families; it goes all over. So, without that, introduce yourself and tell them what you were about, man.
Just I was in the life early age, on the streets hustling, and as time went on, I got more involved, and I was always a street guy, but as time went on, I got more involved with that life part of it, the mafia part, and eventually I ended up getting inside really close, and I ended up getting straightened out in 03.
Let me stop you right there, Andy, because people that are involved with the life or know the street, they understand what you mean by straighten out. And you were familiar with my in-laws' families, both skippers in the Genovese family.
Yeah.
You guys, you didn't know them personally, but you knew of them.
Right.
And we made about 4 guys in the basement of my house, which you're aware of. And before you got straightened out, me and you were pretty close friends when I got out of jail the last time, and we did some business together. But do me a favor for the people that don't know. Walk them through what your ceremony was like prior to you getting straightened out so that they get it kind of play by play.
So before I got straightened out, I was proposed by the Massachusetts faction to be a member. And, that was going back to the early 90s. I was proposed by Bruno. He was our boss of the area, which is a captain in the Genovese family. We controlled all of Connecticut, Western Mass, Central Mass, going into further Western Mass, going into Albany, even Albany. And so from the 90s all the way up to early 2000s, I was, on and off with Bruno as a proposed member that I was going to be under Bruno faction in Mass. And come, late 90s, and we and him had a, love-hate, relationship. Not really love-hate. We got along great, but I always was breaking the rules. There was no drug dealing. I was a big weed dealer, and I used to have to try to hide it from him.
We did business originally with
and then,
weed, me and you, so back when I first came over.
So Bruno was against that, and I ended up getting arrested in 96 while I was a proposed member. I was about to get made at that time with him. And so when they raided my house, they found weed, and I was shelved, I was put on the shelf for chased, how they want to call it.
Right.
And I ended up beating the case in '98. And Bruno came back out of prison. I ended up getting back with him. He said, "Are you going to still sell drugs?" I said, "No," which I was selling more than I ever did in my life.
Right.
Weed, mostly weed, And by that time, I started going to New York a lot with him and meeting New York captains and bosses, and I was getting more aligned with New York faction of the Genovese family. So once they and I wasn't proposed by New York. I was proposed by Mass.
Now wait, Anthony, let me ask you a question. What did you have to do to get your to get proposed? Didn't you got to do a piece of work for them in New York, right?
Yeah. So it would end up leading. That's what happened. They were coming back and forth, Mass, New York, this and that. And there was other two guys that were on the list that were going to get straightened out before me from the old regime in our area. And once they started coming up, they seen that I had a lot of, I had my hands in everything. I had the biggest crew of our area crew. And I started getting noticed by the bosses. And they liked me. And they actually wanted to put me with these other two guys to make the three of us. So they wanted me to do a piece of work. And a piece of work, they wanted me to kill the head of one of the unions in New York City. And, I ended up.
They were blaming the Albanians for that.
Yeah, they blamed. That's what I was going to get. They blamed some of the guys that were friendly with some of the Albanians.
They didn't know. They had no idea. I mean, we came from Mass. I mean, we had to drive 3 different times, 2 hours to get to New York. We had silencers. We had the first time we went, we did a dry run. And if we had the guns, it would have been a perfect time because, the guy came out and it was right when they said he was going to come out, but we didn't have nothing on us. Second time we went, the guy never came out. The third time we went, we ended up getting it done and we shot the guy 9 times. And that was in like April or May of 2003. And I got made in August of 2003. So because of that hit, that's how I got my button with that family. And I got my button in New York, not in Mass, which is a big deal. Because by getting it in New York, I was direct with the boss in New York. The boss in our area is a boss, but he's just a captain in the family. But we all consider him boss.
Break that down to people because they don't understand the difference. What you mean when you're running the area for New York? Explain that to me.
Right. So the Genovese family is a big family, and outside of New York, they have Connecticut, Western, our area. So everyone in our area, which is like, hundreds of associates, 20 to 30 made guys, all refer to the guy that's running this area as boss. When they write newspaper articles, they refer to him as boss. But he's a captain in the Genovese family overall. But he is a boss in this area. So Bruno, had that position. And at the time that I got made, Bruno had the position of boss in the Mass area, but I got made in New York, which gave me more power than he had, even though he was boss of this area. I was direct with New York.
Right.
So it gave me a lot of power, being that way. And it's a big difference, John and Gene. You guys know that because, you get made in New York. It's a lot
it's the motherland.
more. You're direct with bosses there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So
well, I remember when you got made, and then slightly after that, I take off, and we don't see each other again for a little while. But you were a unique boss at the time, the position you were in, because you were well respected for a couple of things that, I can fill in some of the people about you. You were an intelligent guy. They can obviously tell by the way you're speaking now. You're not a typical dumb guy. You were a big money maker, and you were a hitter. You were a guy that did the work also. You went on a couple of hits, and we're going to talk about that. And Gene is familiar with you also through the prison systems when he was up and down. And we remained the friendship. Me and you remained the friendship for a lot of years. But as you were moving up in power, you did some other things. And one of the things that you did off of that later on, again, wasn't your call, but it was your people's call, was to take out Bruno, right? You can tell us that story.
Yeah. So that was kind of like a hectic time, that 2003 era. I mean, there was a lot of there was guys that were getting on the list to get killed and taken off the list. And we were going to kill this guy, kill that guy. I mean, it was a crazy, we ended up killing. So anyways, Bruno ended up being on that list, and it was something that I didn't want to see happen. It was not my motive to have him killed. I was already made. I was already in a position that was higher than his.
Let me stop you, and for the people that don't know, you didn't have any qualms. You didn't want to hit him. I remember this. So
Absolutely.
You didn't want to hit him. You didn't have any benefit hitting him. If it wasn't you that hit him, it would have been me, somebody else, whoever would have hit him, somebody in your crew, outside your crew. But the work was going to get done, correct?
Right. Okay. The work was going to get done in our area because we're outside of Mass. Maybe something could have happened. I did, and you know this. You can't, you get and I didn't get an order from the boss to kill him. So at first, I was completely out of it. I didn't, instigate this hit. I didn't. It wasn't anything to do that I wanted to be done. Eventually, afterwards, when the guy, a soldier, they were gonna see what was gonna happen is they were gonna just take the Bruno down, and take him down, which is make him a captain to a soldier.
Right.
And like I said, I'm already made, so I already got the power because I'm made in New York. I'm direct with the boss. Now Bruno was gonna become a soldier. They were gonna have this other guy as like a puppet to be the figurehead captain of our area. So he's going to get all the heat from the feds. And, when they go, who's the boss of the area? It's going to be this, Felix is going to be the boss. So he's going to get all the heat, but I'll have all the power. And we all know it amongst ourselves. But the outside, because even when I got straightened out, I wasn't introduced to nobody. I was keeping it under very secretive. Even our family now, we don't introduce each other to other families once they get straightened out. Remember back in the day, they go around and introduce you.
They don't do that no more. You're right.
We stopped that.
Make guys. Right.
Yeah. So they stopped that, and so that was the plan. Bruno was just going to get taken down as a soldier, put as a soldier, still being able to, run around. This guy was going to get pumped up as a puppet captain. I was going to have the power, and life was going to go on. Then one of the soldiers in our area was going to get sentenced, and instead of getting 2.5 years, he got 3.5 years. And he got the extra year for being a made member of the Genovese family. He said, I'm not a made member. How do you know I'm a made member? So they came out with a 302 document that had, and Bruno wasn't an informant like that. I mean, he was like one of them, he would like to play, how that game is, they try to, like, certain guys try to get around feds and get information from them. Like a Whitey Bulger, exactly. And that's a double-edged sword. You know how that goes. I mean, you get information from them, and then you don't like certain guys, and that's what happened. He seen this FBI agent at a fundraiser. Bruno was charismatic. He talked to people. He went up to the guy and he said, "Hey, what's up? And why you guys busting our balls all the time? Why don't you go after drug dealers and this and that? And we don't." So he goes, I got a job to do. You got a job to do, and this and that. So the guy asked him a couple of questions, and he asked him if was his kid Emilio a made member of the family, and how many guys that were made. And I mean, Bruno's just, I know how Bruno was thinking. He's just thinking to lure him in and tell him something, and then if anything, he can get information from him, because that's how Bruno was. He had the local DA for 20 years.
But Anthony, no matter what his intentions are, our laws are very strict and stringent. We know that if you sit with them, you talk to them, if you answer a question by them, you're labeled.
Well, he got killed for that.
A rat, and that's the end of it. And with you guys, got killed the West Side, and the West Side is, I think, is one of the more stringent families out of the 5 families, where they don't give no bend or no break to anybody. I think that's one of the things that, in my opinion, gets Bruno killed, obviously. Right.
And the thing is, John, is that when the paper came out, naturally, the kid had a beef with Bruno, and they had an argument. Then I saw the paper. I did see it. Then the paper went to the guy that they're going to put in Bruno's place, Felix. He's the one that called New York, had a sit down in New York, not me. He did. He went to another sit down where there was bosses there, and that's where they said to clip Bruno, not to me. They told him to clip him. I wasn't even involved in anything as far as Bruno getting clipped. But after a few weeks of going on, this guy wasn't capable of killing Bruno. He just didn't have a crew. He wasn't capable. He wasn't, and I'm out of it. I don't care. Like that's his business. Nobody told me to do nothing, so I'm not getting involved.
Well,
so
the people that don't know you, and Gene knows some of this history, is you didn't need it. I mean, you were already straightened out.
I mean, I had no reason to kill
money.
him.
Yeah, you were already making money.
Right.
You were in a good financial position.
You had a violent crew, right? You had a violent crew.
I had the most violent crew in this whole area. I mean, it was
that's
like
good because the Genovese family in New York is kind of like non-violent.
And this.
So bad.
And you know this, Gene and John. Not only was my crew violent, we were all money makers. We all made millions of dollars.
Yeah,
my crew was big. Yeah, I had the the violent guys, and I also had the money makers, which that's what makes a good crew when you have things like that.
Well, that's one of the reasons. And me personally, I got very friendly with you, and I think that was the respect level that you got through your own family because you were very capable, obviously, and you had a good crew of guys with you, and you guys were earnest, serious earnest. You guys made some big money. So between those combinations, I think whether you understood it at the time, you didn't realize what your net worth was to your family, which was extremely high.
Big money.
So, yeah. I mean, people really looked up at, and you started getting some reputation outside of your family to guys like us that knew you.
Yeah. I mean, basically we were big earners, my whole crew. And we didn't need the mafia to earn. We were all earning without the mafia. We were all earning, as young guys growing up. Like I said, I was doing the regular rackets with those guys, but 90% of my income was coming from, we had the, large marijuana business. And so I was like, sports, you know what I mean? I didn't really care about the sport. I was betting my own office. I mean, I didn't really care about that. The loan shark, and how much really can you make? I mean, you got to have $1 million, on the streets to make serious money weekly.
Gene was doing that with his guy.
Right. And my captain had like $3 million on the street. Right. And that's when you make the big cash, right, with the loans.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, So say you got a couple 100,000 at, what's that?
Unfortunately, Gene didn't have a guy like you that was out there doing work and handing over a lot of money to his guys. Because you took care of your guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I call it the way it is with everybody. I mean, you were one of those guys that really did the right thing with your guys. And you guys had a good time. You guys like to go out and have fun.
I think that's what you have to do to make your crew grow. Like, if I had a sports business, I had certain guys I was partners with in that. Then I had a Shylock business. I had partners with that. Then we had a vending business, all the Joker Pokers. I had partners with that. The marijuana business, I had 100 people selling weed, but through different avenues. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're partners with all of them.
Well, I knew another friend of mine was a banana skipper.
Yeah.
And you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You guys did a lot of business together.
Big business, right?
And I never told him I knew that because, mine and your friendship had nothing to do with mine and his friendship. But, you guys were doing big business, and he did very well for himself, actually, over the years, too. So, it's a small world in our world, and Gene knows through the years, especially in the Shylock business, what you can make if you have big money out there.
Wow.
But, if you don't have the right guy you're with, they're going to leave you and not do the right thing for you.
Right.
And
they make all the money. Right.
Well, that's what happened to you, Gene. But in Anthony's case, he took care of the guys. And Ant, I mean, I know all these stories, but I'm going to give you another one. And, if you could, shed some light on it. Jimmy Brown was a skipper with us, was a powerful skipper out of Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And he had a guy that who drove for him at the time. And later on, he was up to get hit. Tell us about that story. And Gene's aware of that story.
Yeah.
From us talking about it.
So that guy right there is the guy that ruined, like I said, we had Connecticut, Mass, all the way into Albany. And John and Gene, we had everything, a lock on everything. I mean, it was because there's only one family here. There was the Patriarchas, but they were pretty much decimated by the 90s. They all got indicted. And so, from that whole time that I'm coming up, there's one, we're not fighting with each other. You guys in New York, you got 5 families. Every 10 steps you go, you got someone fighting over a corner, which family's involved. Over here, we didn't have that. So we pretty much had everything locked down. Politicians, anything if you wanted on mayors, all the, people like that. that would help us thrive, because we had legitimate businesses, all the bars, all the restaurants, all the strip clubs. And if it's not somebody directly that was like a made guy, which it wasn't just made guys. But it was like the made guy, because their associate, their hidden interest. So it is their joint. When you go into a joint and you get into a fight and you smash up the joint, well, it ain't the guy that owns the place coming to looking for you. It's the wise guy coming looking and you saying, why are you fighting in my place? You're ruining my business.
Right.
So we had this whole area locked down. So the guy you're talking about that drove for Jimmy Brown, he's the guy that ruined our area. This guy
What was his name? Audie or what was
No,
his
it
name?
was John Bologna.
John Bologna.
John Bologna used to drive for Jimmy Brown.
Right.
And then he got around Artie, and
right.
I met him in New York. The first time I met him, we were all eating dinner out there. And the first time I seen him, that sixth sense in you said, this guy's no good.
Hey, Anthony, I actually saw him. He was an associate, right?
He was an associate.
And he was bringing messages from New York to Boston, New York to Mass for you guys, right?
Yeah, well, it ended up happening like that. So when I first met him, there was some money that was owed to a couple of the bosses or captains in New York, and they wanted me to go with him and collect it in New Haven, Connecticut. So we went to this scrapyard and we met, and we had the guy paid. I think it was like $37,000 the guy owed. So we met for the first time outside of New York, and ever since then, this was in 2001. That guy John Bologna was coming up every single weekend, because he said he had to give messages to Bruno, because Bruno was just taking over at the time. The guy before him was under an indictment, so they made Bruno boss in 2001. So Bruno was in power. This guy comes up and just every weekend after that started coming up, and he kept saying, I got to give a message to Bruno. And they would come up on a Friday, eat at the restaurant, and then I'd be out with him till 4 a.m. And then Saturday, same thing. Sunday, he'd go back home. And he did that all the way up until 2003, 2 years. And what he was doing was, he was a cancer. He would look at our area, see what we had. We had gold, and he would see that. So he would run and report back, to Artie down there, and pump his all head up. These guys are making millions of dollars. These guys got, everything locked up. That, he would tell him, you should get that, and blah, blah, blah. So he poisoned Artie's head. But in the meantime, we never, I know it's big in New York, extortion, you have, play people and places, they pay. We do that with bookmakers. Shylock guys, if they're not with us, they'll pay us every week. But we don't go to regular businesses, restaurants, and, the strip club was owned by, the main guy was partners in there. We don't do that. We never did it. When Bruno took over, that's when these extortion schemes started coming up in 2001. It originally started off with 500 from these two guys, this strip club and this other bar, 500 a week, which is 1,000 a week. And it ended up going to 50,000 a month. We were collecting from shakedowns from everybody. And it just drew so much heat on us. State police, organized crime, FBI, we're all over us now because of this extortion. And Bruno, Bruno was a part of it. We were making money. But so this guy Bologna was going back and forth with the messages, and that's when their eyes got green and they got greedy, and that's when the plan started coming up with take Bruno down, put like a puppet there that they can control so they can get the money. They wanted the money. We never paid New York money, ever. Nobody here ever gave a dime to New York. Christmas time, you give them gifts. You go down to see the bosses, bottle of Louis XIII, cigars.
Roman envelope, right.
There was no money. The guys here never transferred money like that. It was always, for whatever reason why, that's how it was. That all changed when Bruno got there, and he was, out of the 50,000, he was sending 10 to New York every month.
Wow.
From the extortions. So, that's how John Bologna got involved, and the messages. And then he would come up and, get his end of the money every week and go back down with it. And then say he had, messages. But the more and more he kept coming up, the more and more they wanted to take. He wanted to take. And he was pumping up the other guy. And that's how the plan came to demote Bruno and put, like I said, Felix up as a puppet. And like I said, to me, I didn't really, I thought that was a bad idea, the extortions, because it brought nothing but heat. And it exposed our area. He used to come up. He was a big guy. He was like 6'2", 3. He was like 300 pounds. He had a black beard, hair pushed back, black sunglasses. And, you know, he stood out, you know, when we used to go out in bars. I mean, who is this guy? You know, smoked cigars. One time he came up with a black fedora, black hat. He looked like the guy in The Godfather, the Don Fanucci, only he had all black on. You know, and what do you think they're doing? They're all, you know, you might as well just get a flag around going, we're shaking the whole city down, and we're the mafia, and that's what we should have did. But he didn't care. I even asked him, I go, do you do that in New York? Do you shake all these places down in New York like that? He said, are you kidding me? Because I get 30 years for that. I go, well, what do you think we're going to get, you know, over here? We're not going to get the same 30 years?
Right.
But he didn't care, and he kept poisoning the other guy.
Anthony, it goes back to the same thing that me and Gene discussed in the last couple of shows with Anthony, his cousin, Ruggiano. You guys were in a different class. You were making money. You didn't need to you guys, this was nickel and dime money, you know.
Right.
And it wasn't worth coming out of, you know, hiding, because you guys kept a low key, big money makers, and you kind of kept a low key, and it drove it to you guys doing a lot of work. I mean, the bottom line is you guys really did put in some work. You did some hits.
John, just real quick, I'll tell you, the guy that they were shaking down, a made guy, was partners in the club, in the club that they were shaking down. So they were shaking down their own guy, who's a made guy. You know what I'm saying? It was absurd. It was just, you know.
But who was accused as being an informant or possibly out of the?
So. Yeah, so I was in the Bronx. We were hanging out on one of the corners there, and the Gambino boss, you know, Anthony McGalley there. He was a boss at the time, early 2000s, I believe it was 02, right around there. So he pulls up, and me and Artie get in the car with him, and we're talking with him. He sees JB out there, and he says, "What's JB doing here? That he's no good. We chased him."
Wow.
And he said that right, you know, in the car with us, and you know. We talked a little bit afterwards. We got out of the car, and I asked Artie. I said, what's up with that? He said, I don't pay no mind with him. He's, you know, he's mad he's around over here now, so they're putting a label on him or whatever. He said, don't pay no mind to it. That was some point in like 03, right around that time.
It was right about when I left. I remember because we had a couple of discussions before I left.
Yeah. And, well, the thing that got me real quick was I used to hang around with a captain in the Patriarcha family, old timer, really good guy, and we used to go down by the shore, and he says the same thing. The guy that comes up to your area with the beard is an informant. He's no good. So we got a boss of the Gambinos, a captain in a Patriarcha, telling us this guy is an informant, and then we even got a faction in our area that knew that this guy was no good.
Wow.
You know, and I went back to Artie. I said, listen, we got guys, and at this time I already did a piece of work. I already shot the guy in New York 9 times. So, and you know, over there. So now this guy knows, you know, about, he actually brought me to the spot where the guy comes out of the house at 6 in the morning and whatever, and showed me the car or whatever. So he knows the whole, you know, scheme of that. And then on top of it, he knows all about the Bruno thing afterwards.
Wow.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, you could stay on the streets, these guys, and, you know, we go to jail for, a racketeering case. What are you going to get if there's no violence? 3 years, 4 years, you know, for, you know, stupid. I mean, I had 3 of them at once, 2 state and 1 fed, and I got 3.5 in the state and 29 months in the fed concurrently. And these were all huge $1 million crime businesses, Shylock and Numbers, Sports, you know, all that stuff. And I got 3 years. But when you drop a body, you know, your life changes after that.
Yeah.
I mean, every day you wake up, you don't know if it's the last day you're ever going to see on the streets ever again. Your family, your kids, you don't know if they're coming today, and then, you know, you're never going to get bail. You're going to get a death penalty case. You're going to, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. So that's what I'm living with, because he put me with this guy, this, you know, and I even went to him and I said, listen, just send this guy up. You'll never see this guy. I have a whole dog. I have houses. You'll never, just tell him you got to send him a message with us, and you'll never see this guy again. And when I told him that, he stopped him from coming up to our area ever since then. Ever since then, the guy never came up to her. And the reason I think he did that, because when all this stuff was going on, you know, like I said, I got made in 03 and May. There was other contracts. We were looking to kill other people, but then there was another hit that they ordered in New York to kill. And I'm so happy that one didn't happen because that was a bum rap that this kid got, but friend of mine. But it switched to Bruno. You know, they ordered Bruno to get killed, and in the meantime, we ended up clipping my brother-in-law. It went all in the same time, and that wasn't ordered by nobody. We just did it.
I remember your
That
brother-in-law.
happens a lot.
Right.
The brother-in-laws get killed a lot for some reason.
Yeah. So I mean, we at the same time, you know, Artie knows that he didn't order that, and this guy went missing. He asked me about it. He said, "What happened to this guy?" He said, "I don't know. I think he took off. He went to Florida. He left the wife and got another girl." So I didn't even tell him about it. But right. I think he knew that we did that while we're supposed to be killing. You know, when the Bruno hit was going on, we killed this guy. So he's probably thinking these guys will kill this John Bologna if I send him up there.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking, because he never came up ever again.
Well, you went from under the radar to very noticeable, and you were on the radar of, I think, of mostly local police, feds. You got on the radar with everybody at this point, and especially after the Bruno hit. And I think your exposure changed dramatically, and obviously after some of these hits, everybody knew you within the mob world, which really hurt your earning capacity at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
and things changed dramatically after that. You were on fire. Everybody knew who you were.
Right. You were probably the most violent crew for the Genovese family, probably, because Genovese family really wasn't violent in the 2000s that I know of. So you were probably one of the most violent crews.
Yeah, and especially our area. I mean, we had our area amongst everybody. There's other made guys. They had their crews, but my guys were the most violent of them all.
Well, you had the two brothers too, Anthony.
Yep,
I don't know their names.
Yep, Freddie
one of
and
them
Ty.
is who hit Whitey Bulger in jail.
Yeah.
Right,
Freddie.
So so these guys are all your guys for the people that don't know out there. And,
I had guys throughout Connecticut also that were dangerous and.
Well, and you had Bruno had the district attorney in his pocket, right? But something happened
years.
with that. I don't remember that story complete, but I think it would involve the district attorney's daughter or something. And is that correct? Am I on the money?
Oh yeah. They actually they killed this guy who was my family's father. They ended up killing him, and he was one of those guys you couldn't just put your hands on. You know, if you slapped him, he'd kill you.
Right.
So yeah, he was messing around with the daughter, and the guy was the head of the DA of the whole area.
Right.
And he went and he put up a beef about it, and instead of you couldn't hit this guy, they ended up killing him, and they put him in the trunk of a car and left him there, and that was in the 70s, and from the 70s to the 90s. If you were with the right faction, the Schiavelli Bruno faction, you weren't going to jail.
Huh.
You weren't getting an investigation on you. You weren't getting, if you had a case, it was going to get now processed, dismissed, whatever. Now, if you were and that's why I said that double-edged sword stuff. If you were a different faction,
I think that's what hurt you also, because when Bruno gets hit, obviously you're on the other side of that now, because you're involved in the hit of Bruno, whether you liked it or not. That was going to be your piece of work and your guys, and
right.
That brought you a lot of heat.
And I got the blame with the local media
because
I had the most, like I said, the most violent crew there is. I had all this, the stuff on the streets. I had it all. So what am I going to do? He got killed. I'm still going to go after the street stuff and the stuff I was partners with him in, and actually I'm going to keep making money off that. So when they see that, the local media gets that, and the next thing you know, they're labeling me as his successor. They don't even know if I'm made yet. So how do they even put me down as his successor? Right. We kept it a secret. Right. So they're labeling me down as the boss, and and then I got a ton of heat. I had 24/7 surveillance everywhere I went. They had listening devices. They had them in strip clubs, restaurants, bars, my truck, my cars, my guys' houses. That's how one of my indictments happened. They put a listening devices in his house. We used to do the work there every Sunday, and they had the place bugged up, and that was one of my indictments. And it was just everywhere I went was 20. And then they're sending all the informants are coming into you.
Right.
How. And then you're trying to kill other people at the same time. So you're waking up. You're trying to kill. You're trying to make money. You're trying to avoid them. and it's just you can't really operate, but you still have to. I still was up until I got taken off the streets.
It's inevitable that the downfall is gonna come because you went from under the radar to flying high, and you might as well have carried a loudspeaker at that time. Although you were personally quiet, but between all the work, between your guys, between the informants, between the extortions that were going on, you were just on fire. I mean, with Gene was the same situation, really. In the neighborhood, once he started hurting guys and using that gun, it's over. Your name is up there. Yeah, and
you guys know this. Like when you're like that, nobody wants to come near you.
Yeah.
So I mean, like either they're scared or they're scared of the heat that you got.
Right.
So I mean, you could go up to them and you could say, I got a great deal. We can make millions of dollars, and they don't want to have. I even went to one guy, and it was a great deal. And he says, Anthony, I would love to do it, but the problem is, if I go partners with you, and they know it, then I'm going to get all that heat that you have is going to come to me. And he goes, I have to say no to you. And I was,
when I went on the run, I couldn't call you guys. I couldn't call you. I couldn't call you. I couldn't call anybody. I'm on the run. I left. I said goodbye, and that's it. 2003. When I take off, there is no help anymore because the guys you can call are running from you.
Right.
And the guys like yourself, I can't call because I know you're on fire. So who do I ask for help? And you're left out. You're left out to dry when I'm jumping country to country.
Absolutely. So, and you're on the run. You can't really call anybody because that's you got to.
And I had multi-million-dollar businesses going, and you know what happens with that between guys stealing, guys giving you up, guys ratting on you, and at the time, obviously, you get guys like the boss, Joe Messina, started running a wire, and different things happen. So I was in a bad spot.
Hey, Anthony, I want to ask you something. So a lot of people blamed you for killing Bruno, right? They thought it was your idea, right? And a lot of people don't know it wasn't your plan. You had no intentions on killing Bruno.
So I didn't get the hit told to me to do it. I wasn't the one that went to New York. I didn't sit down with the bosses. And as far as I'm concerned, I wasn't helping. I had no intention of helping.
Well, explain to them what happens when a green light gets put on you. It has to be done one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, I went to. So and if you warn him, you know what's going to happen. If you go to somebody and there's they're going to get hit, and you go tip them off,
you're going to get
hit. You're just as good dead too, right?
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
so a lot of people
especially
if that you right.
And I actually did want to give him a heads up just to go on vacation, And at the time he had his eyes done, LASIK surgery or whatever, and he was in the house, for like a few days. The day I went to his house was the first day he left, and his wife answered, and she said, "Oh no, he left today. He's not here." And I was gonna give him like, why don't you go on vacation in a roundabout way without coming out with that, But it is, once that happens, I mean, like you said, there's he's gonna get hit, and but it wasn't from anything to do with my motive of instigating that.
Right. You weren't trying to take his spot, basically. You just got the
I didn't
spot
have
from
to.
New York. They gave it to you.
Well,
right.
That's the thing, Gene. He didn't need to. We knew each other. I mean, he made a ton of money. So this stuff is really what would hurt you. I mean, if it was up to you, and we had these discussions before and after, if it was up to you, you wouldn't have did any of this work because you were sitting pretty without anything. You already straightened out. You already had a ton of money. You already had the guys. You were living a good life. You didn't need to do any work. If it was up to you, you would have coasted the rest of your life. Right. And I don't think a lot of people out there know that you would have.
And I think if it was the right boss involved, they still would have known that for what it was and just shelved Bruno and just threw him out of the life without killing him. But I think they had a bad boss that was put in position. He went from a soldier to a boss, and I think he was the wrong guy because he was sending messages. I mean, John Bologna knew about murders. He knew about, and he's an associate. Not only is he an associate, but we're told that he's an informant. So not only is he an associate, we're told that he's an informant, and the boss is using him to send messages. All right, send a message. Right. Hey, give this guy a box of cigars and tell him, something stupid. But you're gonna tell this guy to murder conspiracies where you're never gonna see the streets.
Eli, you know that you can't say associate cannot talk with made members and captains. You have to have permission. They can't just go sending messages back. I never heard of that before.
Well, it depends. On certain guys can do it.
Exactly. And, certain.
There's a handful
guys like
of us. Guys,
No. Exactly. Certain guys. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. So
guys like yourself, Joe Watts, Jimmy Burke, those guys in New York, guys in my area also that didn't have the button, but they were dangerous. And
one of your guys, that was also a skipper. That was one of the guys I did business with. I would meet with him directly and do business with. But I had a different, which I was in a different level than most of these guys that had the ability to sit. But it's very far and few between of guys that can do that. And for them allowing this guy to do this was a blunder, and and it cost a lot of lives actually, and it ruined a lot of lives. So they had no business. And as well as I also, they shouldn't be discussing something that's already occurred. Talking about a hit after it's occurred, or sending a message about a hit that's occurred, or him sending messages on who to do it is ridiculous. I mean, he shouldn't have been in that position.
John, after you do a hit and you kill someone, you're married to that guy forever, whoever you did it with.
100%.
So I mean, you're whatever that guy's. If that guy starts becoming a drug addict, you're probably going to kill him because you guys did murder together. So I got a guy that I just known for the past year and a half, 2 years of my life, and I'm being told that he's an informant. And then next thing you know, and it turned out he was an informant, but then I'm being told that this guy is, he's an associate and he's got murder. He knows about me and murder. And
well, during the trials, Ant, I said it. I said me and Gotti had a bad marriage. And I said, whether, for life, whether we like it or not, we're attached to each other while we're in the life, while we're out of the life, because we're involved in too many crimes together. Right. Whether it doesn't matter, I was the shooter and he wasn't, that's here or there. The idea that we were involved in those crimes is no matter what we like about each other or dislike, we're attached to each other till we're both dead.
Absolutely.
And I don't think anybody understands that. And you said that perfectly, really. And Gene, it's going to be the same situation, all the guys you work with. You're either way, no matter what, you're already done. And your situation says there's no going back in time, whether you like it or not. It's part of our history for the rest of our life.
So, and you got to go to bed at night knowing that, and knowing if tomorrow you're going to get pulled off the street, knowing that, it's bad enough if one guy knows it, but you got a guy that knows it and we're told he's an informant. I mean,
well, listen, I say, guys don't like me saying it all the time, but I'm sitting in a penitentiary in Brazil, be in my position, and know that Gotti's sitting down doing a profit, with the government. Right. What is he? Anthony, you know better than anybody. What is he? He's a rat, right?
Yeah, I mean, in our life, you can't sit down with the government. He knows that, and he knows that, and anybody that sits that, you can't be half pregnant. I mean, you get clipped.
Well, and we understand, and listen, and here's back to the same thing. Why we're doing the show, for the people that don't know, and Gene was, I believe, away at the time when you were still away, Gene, when me and you did the GQ magazine together, Anthony. Me and you, I guess that was in August it came out when we did that magazine. For people that don't know that you did that magazine with me. But, we understood the life back then. We understand it now, and we understand where our lives are now. And really the reason why you're on here, I was, people ask why we here, and, and they know we're good friends, and they know Gene's friends with you. And what are you doing here? And I tell people the same thing. Your message is no different than my message, right? It's for the kids now to explain to them. And you can explain to them what your feelings are so the kids understand.
Yeah, my message is for these kids is, everybody wants to be a part of a group. As with us growing up, John, you're the age group. I say that and Gene is the younger group, but he still has that old school ways with him. He knows the way it was. But I think we were caught in the way the old way was, and then this new way it is on the streets. Because drugs it's rampant on the streets. You cannot have a crew without someone selling drugs. I mean, that's basic. That's where the big money is. Like I said, Shylock in sports, but now they legalize in sports. Right. All that. To me, I would tell the kids that, it's alluring. I mean, I lived the greatest life in that life, but then I also I seen the worst part of that life, and it always is going to end up in the worst. Whether you're going to end up dead, you're going to end up in a prison, and even if you don't get life, you're going to be in and out. And you know when you go to prison, no one's going to do nothing for you. They're going to look to take whatever they can, get their hands on. And then you want to come home and you want to kill them, you know. And so my message would be is just hustle legitimately, because all these guys that I know in my area that made it to that next level, that went from, they bookmakers and they made $1 million. But then they stopped and they got into legitimate business and they're worth tens of millions of dollars, and they live to be an old age, and they don't see the inside of a jail cell. And you notice, if you have the brain, street guys I think are the sharpest guys there are, you know, because there's just something about a street guy that makes them more intelligent than a guy that went to, like, say, Harvard, you know, book smart guys. And I would just say to them, use your streets, you know, use that and put it to legitimate use, you know, whether you're going to go into bar business, restaurant business, garbage business, and just go hard. Get your 2 or 3 guys in your crew. You guys got balls or whatever, and do it legitimately. And you never have to worry about seeing the inside of you. Go to bed at night, nice. And you don't have to worry the treachery, because you know in our life, your friends are the ones that are going to look to put a bullet in your head. Not today, they're not killing nobody, but you know, your friends are the ones that are going to look to kill you. And it's the closest ones that are going to look to take all your money when you go to prison, because they know all about you.
Well, a lot of them couldn't do what we did on the street. We had $1 million enterprises, whether it was nightclubs, restaurants, real estate, but we were involved in multi-million-dollar companies making big money. And when we were in jail, Anthony, I think you're in the same situation as me. Every penny was being stolen from me, taken from me, told where my money was. So it ends up in and we've talked over the years, Manuel, about this, how everybody and their mother jump on the bandwagon and screw you any which way they can. And the people that wanted to kill you try to kill you in a different way. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we all end up suffering. Gene told a lot of stories about when he was in prisons and, you know, standing on your own 2 feet. And a lot of these guys, like you said, the street guys, the ones that are smart, and I'd say 10% out of the street guys got some real abilities to run companies legitimately. I mean, then you got the dummies. But that's in any business. They don't have the capability of reinventing themselves. And I think part of what we're doing now for kids is exactly that. We're learning to reinvent ourselves and hopefully give a message to kids not to follow this, because you're living proof, Anthony. And Gene is living proof that people expect to get the same reaction from Gene as he used to give. And yet he's younger. A different person. And he's younger.
And he sees the young kids more. He sees that element today, where when we grew up, it was, you know, we grew up with a lot more. The mafia was like, you know, we looked up to them in the 70s and 80s. I mean, people don't realize what the mafia was and what it represented. You know, and that all
times 100 compared to now. And, you know, we know it was treacherous and killing crazy. He's a throwback because of his family. You know, he's a little different.
When you went to jail, you said that they weren't even bringing your loan shark money over like they were supposed to, right? The first thing what they do.
When I was away in 05 to 08, I was still earning big, and all my, you know, and I had all my stuff, and because my guys were on the street, and I was only doing 3 years. I was coming home, so and you know they couldn't do anything with that. One guy did when he got out. He did stick his nose and his hands in that, and you know, a little bit. But in 2010,
they heard life and they were just robbing. That's it. They didn't want to bring more money.
I mean, I was, and I, like I said, I had so much heat on me, and I had you know, a couple of you know, you want to get your family situated when you get in, you're ready to get indicted. You want to making sure your wife or kids have got money coming in, so you're getting things lined up. So I remember going to this one guy, and I said I was involved with the number business and some Shylock business with him. So my end was like $10,000 a week. That was guaranteed money, $10,000 a week. And I said, I'm going in, and I had the lawyer out of New York at that time, John Mitchell, and he wanted $150,000, but he wanted it in a check. So I remember going to this guy, go, listen, I need you to go, you know, help me out if I get indicted, which I'm going to. And, you know, the guy ain't going to take cash. He wants a check and this and that. Right away. Oh, no, I no help no one. I'm going to treat everyone the same way I got treated. And this guy was getting treated extremely well when he was away, you know.
It's all the same, every area. Yep.
Yeah, and then when I went in, the first 2 weeks, the 10,000, I told him, I said, I don't want to see 1 week no one went by my wife. It's very simple. You know how it is. Send your wife to go see my wife. They're going to go shopping. Right. Give her the envelope, 10,000.
Right.
And the first 4 weeks I'm in, nobody went by it, in 2010. So, I mean, that's how it ends up. You know, there's snakes, and you can't kill them. I mean, if you could get out of the jail cell and come and kill them, that's what you want, but you can't. Right. You know, and they know that. So that's what it ends up to. Treachery, you know, your friend is going to be the one that's going to kill you. It's not going to be your enemy. And then that's the life. That's that life.
Right.
So let me ask you something. Ed, this is later on now. So Whitey Bulger gets pinched. He was on the run for a lot of years. He was double dipping. He was an informant. He was working with the agents at the same time. He was still out doing work, selling drugs, whatever. He was maneuvering, and he was also an informant at the same time. For people that don't know about Whitey Bulger, but most people, I guess, listen and know who he is. But then he gets locked up. They catch him in California, and he goes to prison. And it's your guy that used to work for you that's there, correct? Did you hear that?
You broke up a little bit. Yeah, say that again?
When Whitey Bulger goes to prison, it's your guy that used to work for you that's in prison that greets Whitey Bulger and kills him. Is that correct?
Yeah, and we got a term that's saying that, you know, he's a Whitey Bulger because, and let me just tell you something, Whitey Bulgers are all over the place. They're in New York, they're in Boston, they're in everywhere, you know, and we use the term, he's a Whitey Bulger. And there's guys here, and, you know, I'm not going to get into names, but they're Whitey Bulgers. And like I said, it's a double-edged sword. They start off, like, say you got a guy you grew up with, good friends, and he ends up being an FBI agent. And, you know, you guys are still good friends. He might give you a tip, John, you know, I like you, my friend. You guys, you're hanging around with this crew. They're really watching them. They got a listening device in the restaurant. So you create a relationship. So now you use that relationship with your friendship. And then next thing you know, after years of using it, you know, it keeps you out of jail. But now you got enemies. And this is what these guys do. They got enemies, and they use him to give them information on their enemies. And that's that double-edged sword. And that's what Whitey Bulger was doing. And he did it for years. And he was a murderous, as they call him. Anybody that will tell you about Whitey, one thing about him, he was a dangerous killer, feared on the streets. I mean, there's guys, I used to go there all the time to South Boston. Those guys are, you know, legitimately tough sections. South Boston, Charlestown, those guys are for real. And, you know, they're like Irish gangsters. You know, like the Westies in your area?
Right.
These guys are like that in the Boston area. So,
well, you know, like, that's why I said people make me laugh when they tell you, well, this guy's not a made guy. He was, when you talk, you just said it hit on the head.
Yeah.
Some tough guys.
You go tell them. Yeah, exactly. Go tell them you're going to pay me every weekend. They'll tell you, come on, I'm going to pay you. Come to my house in the basement. We'll count it there, and they'll chop you up.
Well, guys like Scarpa or guys like Gaspar.
Yeah, well, Scarpa, yeah.
At Eppolito and you know, the cops killing from these guys. And anybody watch the all-time mob movies with Prohibition, these guys used to give up the other crews left and right. It was part of the game.
But, you know, that Scarpa was like that, right? Whitey Bulger, right?
Yeah.
And listen, and I get it. You have to have, you know, judges, politicians, law enforcement. If you can get federal agents, yes, that makes you more powerful. But then, like I said, there's the double-edged sword. Who's controlling the guy that controls them? And how do you know he's not giving you up? Which pretty much happens all the time.
Well, so, I went through this, Anthony, for the kids to understand. I'm talking about everybody, not just gangs. I'm talking about the mob. I went through boss after boss from every crew that was working and either wearing wires or giving up guys. And this is, unfortunately, when kids are signing up, they have this belief about this loyalty that doesn't exist, that we know really don't exist. It's built on bullshit. And, you know, and the message is back to the kids. And I think Gene gives the best message out of all of us, or anybody that's talking and has been on the street, because he's their age group, like you said. Yeah. He's still a young guy that can relate to some of these younger kids. Right. And they can understand some of the violence he did.
Definitely.
And and how his name got thrown in the mix from everybody. You know, people want to leave that part out. Everybody
your old boss Barney wanted my head on a stick. Barney from the Bronx. Yeah, I was really bad for my time, and I try to tell young kids they really gotta understand that it's the same thing that we go through every generation. It's all treachery. Like I said, they're gonna be robbing your money as soon as you go away. Same thing with me. Same thing with Johnny. Nobody cares. That's the truth of the matter. Everybody's out for themselves. There's no real friends in that life.
And I know guys that do have a brain, and they don't want the button.
Yeah.
They refuse it. So, there is guys out there that actually could have got it and didn't accept it.
Well, in hindsight, obviously, you wouldn't want it either. I mean, after everything you went through,
of course not.
You didn't need it. You were doing great for yourself. It was your downfall actually getting involved.
Absolutely.
That's right. A lot of people say that. When you go into the mafia, that's it. It's the downfall. It's a countdown clock. You're just gonna go to jail, or something bad's gonna happen when you start getting involved with them.
Before I got involved with them, I still had the same crew. I still was making probably more money than I was with them. I had all businesses, nightclubs and restaurants, and silently I had, and so. We don't need them. That's what I'm trying to say. The young guys, you don't need them. What do you need them for? What is a guy today going to offer a young kid? You're a captain or a boss in this area.
Nothing.
What are you going to tell a young kid to come around you for? What are you going to offer? What are they going to make money with? What can you offer that young guy to make money with? That you can get him to go kill his friend, to go get out of bed at 3 a.m. and go stalk somebody and kill them. And what are you going to offer somebody like that to do that? I mean, there's nothing there.
Hey, Anthony, when we grew up, and Gene didn't grow up in our era, but Gene grew up when there's so much surveillance. There's so much new technology.
Oh, forget
there's
it.
so many, and if you leave it to the Democrats and forget this is their sales pitch, they're trying to put drones up in the air to follow citizens. And it starts off in a good intent. Don't get me wrong. Just like, a socialist society, they're trying to say, even though I'm against it, but as the leaders change, and depending on how corrupt they are, which we know a lot of politicians are corrupt from every aspect of politics, right? And look at let's just look at the government today. Pelosi and them are trying to sneak in their pension funds during these bailouts. Right. So we know that they're just going to go further and further.
And they stopped the stimulus because of that. And I just want to say this real quick. And you know this too. We know politicians are full of shit on both sides. Republicans, and we knew that our whole life.
Look
That's
what
why
they did to President Trump. Look
how
they used the laws to abuse President Trump.
Right. And I never got into politics at all. I didn't care because we know they're full of shit. I mean, they'd sell their own mother out. And both, look what they did with Trump when he first got in, all the fights he was having with the Republicans. Okay. Then he finally got in. But
he made him a believer by how he ran the country. They all went behind him now.
So this president's the reason why I ended up now I'm into politics is because he exposed, the media. He exposed them. He exposed the corrupt politicians. He exposed. He shed a light on everything. And anybody with a brain understands that. And if it wasn't for him, you would have never known all this bias that there is. With especially the media, and so that's why I think that I support him, and I think he's doing a great job.
Well, if we don't support him, it's going to be like the old days during the war where Germany tried to take over.
Can you imagine if Biden
China's
gets in?
trying to control us financially. Yeah. We're going to speak in Chinese if President Trump doesn't win. I hope you like Chinese food because they're controlling our country with their money. What they've done here is unbelievably is such war criminal crimes that I've ever seen. They keep fighting. Imagine if they just let him go. They keep fighting him. If it's not a Russian collusion, it's an impeachment. Now they're looking to go after him again for how he handled this. If they just let this guy is a billionaire based on his intelligence and businesses. Hillary Clinton, what did she do? The Clintons do besides politics? How did they get 700 million? But they don't have no businesses. Thousands of emails.
Right.
She's a corrupt, full of
and
shit,
they have all their money from politics, whereas Trump made his billions and you know how it is in New York. Come on, 70s and 80s doing business in construction in New York City and real estate. who did he have to deal with? And he still got through all those animals.
Right.
Those, you know what I'm saying? You know how in
Right.
the 70s you
You
couldn't
had
do
to go
nothing.
for them back then.
Right.
Right.
And
You
look,
have to.
he's a billionaire. He made his money, and these other career politicians. Look at Nancy Pelosi. She made all her money through being a politician. You see the thing with
she's worth $20 million.
You see what she did with the stock?
She wants to give away all of our money, all Americans' money, all your taxpayers.
Not hers though.
But not her money. If she believes in what she believes in, give that money to all the immigrants.
Because can I? And you agree with this? Those people, and this is what you can just see. That's why I'm saying we like people that are real. When they speak, you can tell when somebody's real because we're on the streets. We know when these politicians talk that they're fake, that they're full of shit.
Well, they're trying to con minorities. You know
right.
what they're doing.
Well, but they're trying to con the regular American people. The American people ain't stupid no more.
No.
They get it now. They can see what those fakes. You know, ever notice when they're talking like when they're talking to the black audience, they start talking with a black slang. You know, like Joe Biden did it. You know, they do all these things. They're not real.
Well, they just proved they're not real. What they just did to this woman, what's that?
Yeah. They shunned her.
This is they don't care that she almost died. They don't care. They're trying to abuse her in every way and manner they can.
Because she took that medication that saved her, right?
Saved life. She didn't say I changed to be I want to be a Republican now. She stuck to who she is.
Yeah.
And you got to give her a lot of respect for that. But she came out and she's at least speaking honestly. Hey, the guy saved my life. Do you want me not to thank him? I mean, I don't understand. So they blackball her, or minorities they're trying to con and say, we want to give you a bonus. If you really want to give them a bonus, being frontline workers in whatever they do, whether they're cooks, whether they're delivering food, then stop giving them their money that you keep claiming you want to help them for, and giving it to illegal immigrants. How about giving it to those kids in Harlem and Brownsville that I do talks at, or you do talks at?
You know who's really intelligent that I follow, and I don't know if you know her, but you should follow this woman. She's so brilliant. Is that Candace Owens?
Oh, I follow. Yes, I do.
Oh my
follow
God,
her.
she's brilliant.
And listen, I probably spend about 6 hours a day reading newspapers and following politics. So I think
that
a lot
lady
of people
she's right on.
CNN fake news, what the president says. If you go back and rewind their tapes of what the comments they made, and then how they try to lie and backtrack and completely lie. So when he abuses them at these conferences, he's right, because they just don't report honestly. Like the same thing, all the help he gave New York City, they still want to knock him.
They won't give him credit.
What he's done.
He could come up with the cure of this virus, and they will still say something about it.
But
he
here's
could cure
the difference,
cancer.
like you guys know, we are from the street, so they can't con us.
Right.
You know, the regular people, they try to spin and con and Machiavelli.
But the regular people are waking up, though. They really are.
Hope so.
I mean, look at unemployment's was at its all-time low when he was there. The market was at its all-time high. Everything, the economy was the biggest it's ever been. Everything was going smooth, and then this virus comes. Which was out of his control.
Tooth and nail not to get the economy running again.
Right.
Because and this is the biggest thing I keep saying, especially to minority groups that feel or are not getting treated as the rich are getting treated, right?
Yeah.
Every time the government steps in on the left side, they're giving gifts away and trying to control them. They're trying to tell them what time you can wake up, what time this is all you deserve.
Right.
And this is the doctors you can only go to.
It's just like our life. They throw you the crumbs to keep you down.
Throw you the crumbs. Right? They want them to think they're stupid enough to accept that. And it's the same with education. If you want to help everybody in colleges and schools and infrastructures, then stop giving our money away to illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
And use it for college funds for blacks, for black teams.
But they gave Harvard how many? $40 billion, but they didn't take it. They gave it back. They were going to take it.
Somebody just wrote me the other day and said to me, well, most people are immigrants, Italian, Albanian. Yeah, if they come here legally, like most people do, yes, they deserve to at anything that this country offers. But if you're coming here illegally, like I said, and you're breaking into my house, I'm not going to feed you.
And raping and killing women.
Politicians, what I meant to say earlier was government positions and jobs were low-paying jobs. Now they're getting double pensions. They're getting wage increases, and the whole country's falling down. Meanwhile, they're trying to secure their pensions while this is going on. They're giving each other raises. It's a joke. That's where people should be protesting. And they're trying to stop our amendments and allow people to go out and protest. That's our legal right. This is the United States.
Unless they were protesting something for them.
For them, then it's okay.
Right.
But the left, Democrats don't want them to protest. They want to lock us in the house. That just shows you where they're trying to go towards socialist communism. And I don't know why people aren't seeing it. So
I mean, the socialism doesn't work. It didn't work in Venezuela. Look at Cuba. Look at any socialist country. They all fail. The Soviet Union, right, fell apart. It doesn't work.
Well, China was falling apart until they pulled this maneuver. Yeah. Whether it started out by an accident or not, which I still don't really believe, but because of their behavior of what they did, locking everybody into Wuhan and out to other countries. But
Trump's the first guy to put the tariffs on him. He's got him paying billions and billions of dollars.
You got to remember, Biden took that $1.5 billion with his son. So I don't know why they don't talk about that more.
Yeah, because and the thing he did in Ukraine too.
Yeah,
in Ukraine. Yeah, besides China.
Hey, let me get back to something with you guys before we end this.
Hey, Johnny, I wanted to ask him one thing, Johnny. A lot of people always ask us, can you go through a little bit of the ceremony when you become a member? Because people always want to know that. A lot of people always ask the question. Every family does it differently. Can you explain how the Genovese family did it?
So that day, you're supposed to not know you're getting made, but I knew I was going to get made. I drove down to New York. I met at the restaurant. There was 4 of us that day were going to get straightened out, and they were going 2 at a time. You leave all your jewelry, phones, everything at the restaurant. 2 guys came back. Then me and this other kid went. And you go into this. We went into this apartment building. And in our ceremony, they had us strip down. We were in a bathroom in your underwear and put a bathrobe on. And then, when it's your turn, you walk into the room. And you had, in my case, I had 2 bosses that were sitting at the table. There was captains that were there. And basically, you just sit down and you just say, yeah, I'll kill my brother if you tell me to. There's a gun and a knife on the table.
Right.
They prick your finger. Blood comes out. They put the tissue in your hand and they burn it. And you're saying that I'm never going to betray this oath. If I do, I'll burn in hell like this paper. And you swear allegiance to them. If your wife is pregnant, they call for you. You're going to call them. If they tell you to kill your brother, you're going to kill your brother. If they tell you to kill anybody, if they come first, we come first, and that's the life. And it's really it's not even a 10-minute ceremony. It's very quick. And right after you get made, hello friend, they kiss you on the cheek, and that was
Let me step in now. So Anthony, and for the kids that are listening to us, and Gene, me and you've talked about the ceremonies prior to this, even before we're going to ask you to walk people through. How can they possibly ask somebody to go out and go in their underwear with a bathrobe, saying basically, I don't trust this person, so I got to strip them down into their underwear? So why would you be straightening somebody out that you possibly don't trust 100%? Because if there was full trust, and I know why they do it, for the people that don't know, they did it because some of these ceremonies were bugged. People were wearing wires and wires.
Actually, in Massachusetts, it was.
Well, was it in Massachusetts?
Yeah, there was the Medford that when they were bugging it, they had the place bugged up, and they had the whole thing caught on the whole initiation ceremony was caught on tape.
Okay, so now this is if they don't trust who they're inducting. Why they induct?
Why induct it?
So that doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of things that I said this before. Nobody's gonna shoot their father in the head for this life,
right?
If they love their father.
But at least the Genovese family waits 10 years. They make you the Bonanno family. They bring you in 90 days. They don't even know some people. At least that his family he was a part of was a little more strict than bringing guys in. We had to be on record for 10 years to even be thought about, right?
Yeah, and in my case, I mean, I had to do a piece of work. I mean, I don't know. They say guys get made today and they never did nothing.
Oh, nothing.
So, I mean, I don't know how true that is in New York, but, in my case.
Here's the problem, man. And you're the guy stepping in the room, not in your underwear. How about the guys that are conducting that ceremony? How do we know that they're good? The bosses, because so many bosses went bad now. We just named them, whether it's Gaspipe, whether it's Joe Messina, whether it's Al Diaco, whether it's
Joe Messina,
whether it's Leonetti in Philadelphia. I can just keep naming them, right? Like I always do. Whether it's Frankie Coppola or Sal Vitale or whoever else. These guys, Chuck Porter in Pittsburgh, and I'll run through names like crazy, right? So there's so many guys that became informants and wearing whites. How do we know from day one they weren't setting you up or whoever else is going into that room? This is the problem with this.
Right. And for my case, I mean, I thought, when you're in that position, and all of a sudden a guy's protecting a guy that's being told he's an informant, you start thinking to yourself, there are whitey bulgers out there. That does happen. Is this guy, a whitey bulger because he protected this guy? We could have got rid of this guy. You would have never seen him ever, John. And he protected him. So now you start thinking like that. Is this guy a whitey bulger?
Well, Anthony, and Gene, you were used to doing some strong arm stuff and using a gun. And we use guns, Anthony. We were aggressive, and especially in our era. So we understood when someone started talking, or we thought they were talking, whether it was me saying it about Gotti when I was in prison, you saying it about, this guy. We want to hit him. That's what we do, right?
Yeah.
Whether we're right or wrong in that life, that's what we do. So when guys aren't doing it, and we're the ones holding the bag, I mean, how does it work that way? So, we made ourselves even further vulnerable than we should have been by jumping in this life. And that's really, again, back to the same thing. For kids that are trying to get involved in this life, the treachery in this life between politicians, law enforcement, that's crooked, between the guys that are double banging.
John, you were a big earner. You were a big earner on the streets. You had nightclubs in Florida. You had street stuff, big street stuff. You don't need them. They need you. It's like I don't need them. I was, I made millions of dollars. I was well off my life before I had anything to do with, I was just around them. But in other words, we don't need them. They needed us, And today, the kids got to realize that, how,
Look at Gene. Gene, tell him about Ronnie G again and these guys. The guy never did a piece. He's not like us. This guy didn't do work.
Never did nothing in his life. I did all that dirty work. I mean, all of it, legitimately. And I never got nothing out of it. I had to make my own money. I mean, I would make money off him, but not much. He was making like $50,000 a week. He wouldn't share with nobody. He wouldn't even give his own cousin lawyer money. And the only thing he said about his cousin was, I hope you don't go bad. And that was his skipper at the time. And that's how they are. We had to pay for the guy's lawyer. And this guy's making millions of dollars. We wouldn't give him $1 for his lawyer. Yeah. And this is what you're dealing with nowadays. It's all about themselves. And of course, that's how they are, man. It's disgusting. And wouldn't throw a brick in a blackout. Did nothing in his life except live up his uncle. That's it. His uncle was Vinny Asaro. His uncle was a real gangster. That's it.
And another thing for the kids is take care of your wife and kids. That should be your family that you look after, first. Obviously, in our life, we didn't. We're out and about. We're running around and, we neglect, we take our wives out once a week or, we see our kids here and there. But if you really look back, it's, take care of the wife and kid part. That should be your priority instead of, taking an oath to go blow your brother's brains out. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Hey, Anthony, so what's the future hold for you now?
So the future holds today. I'm finally off my probation. It's going to be probably the first time in my life I'm going to have no restrictions.
Congratulations. Yeah. I know. Wow. Good for you.
Yeah. So I was excited. I was really excited looking up to this day because I had a lot of plans. I've been in buying and selling cars, for the past couple of years. I did some real estate deals, buying and selling and buying and holding. But I really wanted to. I want to get in the night, a club. I had my eyes on this one particular club, restaurant, gentleman's club, whatever you want to call it. And I was going to pursue it, after I got off probation. And I had a letter of intent with them. I was going to pursue it with you. Yeah, I know it. But thank God we didn't because, and we dragged our feet because this coronavirus, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with this, with the bar industry. You know what I mean? So think about if we did something, back in January, and we was just in the time. It was like late December, early January, and we had a letter of intent and this and that, and for some reason we dragged our feet, and then all of a sudden all this stuff comes up, and look at we're stuck
screwed,
in.
Bro. You've been screwed.
Yeah. And I got so I have a book project I'm working on, and the book is going to be about this. Like I said, New York is the boss, the base of the family. Our area, Western Mass, all throughout Connecticut, going in, like I said, to Albany. it was a lot of history here, and it's never been told. Throughout the early 1900s, there's been a mafia presence here, and organized crime presence, Irish, Italian. It goes back, like I said, with the district attorney and the murder there, and from the 70s all the way up to the present day. And it's never really been exposed, this area, and I'm a part of that, so I'm a part of that story, and that's a project I'm working on right now.
Cool. And so the people that don't know, there's a project out of Italy that I'm trying to. Hopefully, you get involved with us, and you know that we spoke about it plenty of times. I hope it works out. And Gene and Anthony Russo, who did the Mafia series with Trevor McDonald, I'm hoping to get him here with us on this and also in that series, which he was a captain, and he's a friend of yours also in the Colombo family. So there's some plans on some filming production that we're hoping that we get going. And it looks like it's going to go out of Italy. So hopefully that happens along with your book and some of the stuff that we've been talking about, and some of the projects with kids, like the Second Chance program for kids that, first-time offenders or guys have been in jail that we're advocating for. And that'll be also something I think that you conveyed to me that you'll get involved also with it, as Gene is. And hopefully that we can just help some kids save some lives and
absolutely
do the right thing. And get back to making serious money. Yeah.
More money legitimately.
Yeah. So really good talking to you again. And now that you're off, as soon as this is done, we could get out of the house.
Yeah.
We're going to come see you. We'll go eat dinner and get back together again like the old days and have some drinks. Is there anything else you guys want to say before we sign off?
No, just be safe. Hopefully Trump keeps doing what he's doing and this thing goes over quick. And before you will be, what's that?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question because you're kind of new school like me. Not too much, but you were around the modern day. Do you know anyone to say capo regime? I just want to ask a question, just honestly. I'm just asking you a question because you were a skipper.
In the Godfather movie. In the Godfather movie.
Thank you.
Hey, you guys trying to say I'm a lot older than you guys?
I would call you a skipper. I would never say capo. My fans always ask me to say capo regime. They think it's hysterical. But like I said, I would call you a skipper. No one ever called you a capo regime, right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure. No, all right. Thank you, man. That's all. All right, that's all.
I'll see you guys.
All right, you guys take care.
You on, Anthony. And
all right, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Okay, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.